meet up and just to
Just
talk
chat.
about this topic that we've been talking about for some time, right?
Yes.
And we had this idea to just kind of sit and really talk about what it means for both of us.
Yes.
But I first want to read this to you, and then I want your opinion on what it means to you,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So it says, "No one else will ever know the strength of my love for you. After all, you're the only one who knows the sound of my heart from the inside." And I came across that on the internet, and it was just really profound. It really touched me. What does it mean for you?
I think it means everything to me,
Mm.
especially as a mother who lost a child,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's no matter what stage we lose our baby, 1 month, 2 months, for me 5.5 months, they are the only persons who know our heartbeat from the inside. Nobody else has ever been on the inside of us.
Yeah.
And so it profoundly touched me when you shared that with me, because I mean it's the true essence of exactly what I feel, what I'm going through, as I suffer from my loss. Is only my son knows my heartbeat from the inside,
Mm-hmm.
and so it means a lot to me.
And your loss was recent,
Yes.
right?
August 14th, 7:27 p.m. he was born, and he died 3 hours later.
Wow. What was his? You actually named him.
Yes, his name was Jace. I don't want to say was, is Jace Blake Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
And even when the nurses and the doctors came in, and because they give you a birth certificate and a death certificate, if you want one, and they said, have you named him? Because I named him from time he was an embryo in the lab.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
I remember you sharing the name with me.
yeah, so he had his name from, I think I said to my husband, it's very special. Most parents don't get to see their kids at the stage we got to see him in.
Yeah.
I have a picture of him when he was an embryo.
Ah.
And so I know what he was from the very first day, or what he looked like from the very first day he was conceived.
Right. And remember, what we're talking about, folks, really is about late stage miscarriages or late term miscarriages, which is very uncommon. And we were talking about this and saying, we really need to speak out about it more, because no one really, we know about early miscarriages. I've had an early miscarriage. And it wasn't okay, but it was okay because I knew that, pregnancies could end in the first trimester just naturally, right? But we were talking about a lot of women not having this experience or discussing it, and then Chrissy Teigen, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And John Legend had the experience and
Yes.
was very public with it. And I think she got a lot of backlash for it.
Yeah, a lot of people said, this is supposed to be a special time or private time. Why do you want to share it or put it out in the open?
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody should tell a parent how to grieve. That's your loss, that's your grief, and any way that you choose that's gonna help you get through it is what you have to do. Because I don't think anybody understands unless they have to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very reluctant to tell people I understand what you're going through,
Right.
but right now I can look a mother in the eye and say,
Mhm.
I understand, I know exactly what you're going through, and I can feel your pain because I went through it.
Mm-hmm.
And to having a miscarriage, and I believe all loss is lost no matter when you have it. It could be earlier on or later on, but a late term, like I did, where you get to see your child and hold your child, and it's so much more, to me, devastating, because when I close my eyes, I know what he looks like. I remember his face and his eyes and everything. And for somebody to dictate to me how I should grieve, I would
Right.
not take that, very well.
Yeah.
I think all mothers should grieve in whatever way they feel that that they can grieve, especially because that's a personal loss.
It is, and it's so uncommon. Like I said, I think the stat says like it's 1 to 2 in 100 women have this experience. So when you were going through it, you remember one day I said to you, Olivet, I know what you're experiencing. I have had that experience, and it's something that I've not talked about. I was young. I was in my 20s. Um, I was having a normal pregnancy, and suddenly at the 5th month, you know, I had this miscarriage.
Yeah.
I was devastated. You know, as like I said to you, I was a young girl. I never shared it with anyone just how devastating it was for me. It was traumatic.
Yes.
And I think, you know, my experience was one where, you know, I was at work, I left work, I wasn't feeling great, but I was okay. I went home, and then I started noticing, you know, that I was bleeding, so I needed to get to the hospital, right? Um, the interesting thing, like I said before, is that there were 2 other women that were pregnant at my job at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had that miscarriage, I felt humiliated. I felt like, you know, I was embarrassed to return to work. I couldn't watch women with their children. It was really painful to watch women with their children. I thought at times that I would hear babies crying. I would jump out of my skin and I could swear I heard babies crying. And I didn't go to therapy. My doctors, and this even ties into the issue of Black women and all healthcare, right?
Healthcare we receive.
And yeah, the healthcare we receive. My doctors never talked to me about anything, about me seeking therapy, about what was going to happen following physically, right, to the body, because I actually had a delivery, right? And you named your baby.
Yes.
I didn't literally name her my baby, but I had a name for her. So I knew I was going to name her Kana. Now, you had the opportunity to hold Jace for 3 hours. Yeah. You had him for 3 hours. You sent me the picture.
Well, I had him afraid I was alive, but I held him for, more than 24 hours.
You kept him till the next day?
Kept him till the next day. I knew he was dead and he was cold. Mm-hmm. But, I loved him and I kissed him and I wanted to make sure that's the only thing he knew. Mm-hmm. Didn't know any pain, didn't know anything else, just know that, that his parents loved him and we were there for him. And so I kept him from before, even after he died.
Mm-hmm. So. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do that. I really admire you for it, and which is the same thing with Chrissy Teigen and John Legend, right? It's personal. It's how you manage that pain, that grief. It's personal. Yes. I didn't want to hold the baby. I couldn't even look at her. I kept my eyes really shut tight, because I felt that image would never leave me. And I was already traumatized as it was, knowing that I lost the baby. And there was nothing that said to me, that you're having problems, so you possibly could lose this baby. There was none of that.
None of that.
It just happened suddenly.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no way I could look at her. And yeah, sometimes I think, wow, I wonder who she looked like, what did she look like? But I carried on because I just simply had to carry on, right? I think you sought out therapy though.
I did. I mean, I feel that I had to, because if I didn't, I think that I would lose my mind. And in the Black community, you find that people, you're strong, you're a strong Black woman, and then you can get through anything. And I feel that sometimes it is a misconception, because we're humans at the end of the day, and we need that support. And I had to reach out to my doctors where I would be able to get that.
Checking to make sure. Go ahead.
I would be able to get that support that I need, instead of keeping everything inside. Because I feel, and I still feel sometimes, that I am bursting, the pain and the grief and the sorrow. It's like it's unbearable. It's just too much to carry. And I don't believe that I received the best care that I should have received from my medical doctors. And so now that I can control what I can receive, from a doctor, why not sort it out?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you are a professional woman.
Yes.
And your doctors know this. Mm-hmm. Yet there seemed to have been a cavalier approach to your care.
Yes.
Right?
I felt so. And because even, when the conversation is between the doctor and myself, it's like, they talk over me and they wouldn't necessarily listen to me. But whenever my husband is in the room, and my husband is Caucasian, everybody's attention and everybody's listening and everybody is asking questions. And so the conversations that was just with me was so different than when my husband was in the room. So I know that the care that they were giving me wasn't top standard care.
Right.
And so that alone, frustrated me and still frustrates me, because I think things could have been done, where my son would have gotten a better chance. Nobody's saying that he would have been here. I can't say that, if I had gotten such and such a care that, my son would still be alive. But I know, the outcome might have been, a little bit better. It would have been different.
Yeah. Well, how have you been coping?
Because
that's just the thing. You had a situation where there are two women at your job too.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. The two women pregnant, and we were all pregnant with boys. And they gave birth to their healthy boys, and everybody sending pictures, and everybody was waiting on Jace to come. He was the last one to come, and and it's the same thing. I feel it's almost like my body failed me. I feel embarrassed. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go back to work, and they're gonna be talking about their boys, and it's a small group, and so in my mind, everybody will look at me weird because for some reason that I feel, and I know that's not the truth. But again, in my mind, in my grieving mind, I'm thinking that somehow I feel it. And so
I know. I think for me, I had to put on a brave face. I had to pretend that I was okay, and I was dying inside. I wasn't okay, and I think, thank God, I had some good friends. I was at the NIH at the time, and I had some Matt and Victor, and my old supervisor finally said to me, Donna, you need to see a doctor. You need to see a high specialist. Doctors who are high specialists, specialists in high risk pregnancies. And so I finally gave in and went to see the doctor. And he was an older gentleman, so he was like a father figure, and he said, you got to get pregnant again. And I thought, absolutely not. There's no way I can get pregnant again. I was afraid now,
of course,
right?
Of course, yeah.
To be pregnant. He said, no, when women have late stage pregnancies or late stage miscarriages, our recommendation is that they get pregnant again right away. And he said, trust me. And I said, okay. And I did. I went ahead and I got pregnant again. And I think that's what helped me to recover, because now I was focusing on having this pregnancy and really trying to have that baby.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a distraction, pretty much.
I mean, that's what I've been told. I went to the emergency room because, getting my breasts, still to this day I have milk, so my breast is producing milk, and the pain and the hugeness. So I had to go to the emergency room, and then this doctor came in, and then, he squeezed my breast, talked to me about the experience, and then he was like, you know what? You need to go ahead and have another baby. And I mean, I was shocked. I got mad. I was like, I'm still grieving my son. I don't want another baby. I want my son. If I can get back the son that I have, that's what I want back. But I just don't think that I can think about it. Almost I feel like I will replace him. If I have another child, I feel that I would be replacing him, and I can't. Like, we still have all his baby stuff, and my husband says, well, if we have another baby, at least we don't have to buy anything. If I was to have another baby right now, not one thing of that I would use for that baby.
You would go and buy everything again?
I would buy everything new again, because in my mind, that was J6, and I don't want to feel that, I'm giving away his stuff or I'm replacing him. I'd rather give it to my sister. I'd rather donate it. I have given to 3 mothers so far things from it, and I don't feel bad because I feel I'm making somebody else happy. I'm giving away his stuff, but for me to use it for myself, I would feel like I'm replacing. And that's why I just can't see myself getting pregnant again. I feel that in my mind that he's being replaced, and I want to have that memory of him in my mind. I want it to be fresh. I want it to be new. I don't want him ever to be an afterthought.
You mentioned something, right? You mentioned that you're still you still are producing milk.
Yes.
And I remember when I asked you, when I said to you, I need to tell you something. I need to tell you that your milk is gonna come in. And you said, thank God the doctors told me.
Yes.
And I said, they never told me.
Yes.
So it was one of the most devastating things when my milk came in. And you know, and I had to figure out how to, because it's painful.
Painful.
Because you're not pumping
Yeah,
it. There's
yeah.
not a baby suckling at your breast.
Yeah.
They didn't prepare me at all. And I tell you, I don't know. You know, that's when we talk about resilience.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people that know how to pull on their inner strength and that resilience. Because if I think back to that experience and how did I make it through, I could only point to my resilience.
Yeah.
I don't know what else it was because I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't even talk to my family about it. Right? And again, thank God for that doctor who said, look, come, I'm going to get you, going again and you're going to feel better. And I never thought it was possible.
Hmm.
But it clearly was because
Yeah.
I cannot tell you when I turned the corner and started being okay again. My focus was on having that baby and making sure that this pregnancy actually came to fruition. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know for you, it's still a work in progress.
It is.
Right?
I mean, every day, I have my good days, I have my bad days, and I come to realize I'm never gonna be myself again.
Mm.
You have to find a new normal,
Mm-hmm.
my new self, and whatever that will be, I will embrace it and move forward. And there's always gonna be a hole in my heart. I'm always gonna miss him, and I'm never gonna forget. I mean, it was my child, and I gave birth to him, and there's just no way for me to just go back to life as if he never existed.
Right.
So I have to find a way somehow, to move on, healthy, mentally, physically, and just because he's gone, I'm not gone. I'm still here. Life goes on.
Right.
Somehow I have to go on with life.
And it takes work, huh?
It does,
Right?
Yeah.
It's not easy to
Nope.
go on.
Nope.
It really does take work and intentional,
Intentional work. Yeah.
effort
Yes.
to be okay.
Yes.
And it's one day at a time.
Yeah. Sometimes 1 second at a time.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Because you don't even feel that you're gonna pass the next hour. So I'm okay, and then you tell yourself I'm gonna be okay, and the time just goes on, and before you know it, the day is over, a new day starts, and it's just how you gotta go on.
That's true. Because if I think back to those earlier days right after my miscarriage, I was just in bed.
Yes.
I just didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want
Me
to
too.
talk. I don't know if I even said much of anything
Yeah.
to my then husband about how I was feeling. I just stayed in bed until I got pregnant again. And then it was like, okay, I gotta
do
figure out how to
something.
make this work.
How to make this
Make
viable.
this not fall apart.
Yeah.
Because my world had fallen apart.
Yep.
And then the interesting thing was, I tell you, I went to the Caribbean years after that experience, and I had already had my daughter then. I went to my country, Trinidad and Tobago, as you know, and I went to church with a friend, not the denomination that I attend, and this pastor said in his sermon that you women who have miscarriages, you are cursed by God. And I'm sitting in the congregation like, is this guy for real? I mean, I know what he was saying was nonsense, but at the same time, as a woman who had experienced a miscarriage, not one but two, I sat there thinking, oh, how inhumane.
Yes. How dare you?
You don't know who's in your congregation. And to say that I have to personalize
yes, of course,
right?
Yes.
I'm cursed by
by
God
God.
because I had a miscarriage. No, I think you got that wrong, dude.
Yeah.
But again, it's just I think, an experience we don't hear much about. Definitely not the late term
Yeah.
miscarriages, and
It's not spoken about. I think
No.
a lot of women go through it and they go through it silently because
suffering in
in
silence.
silence. I'm in the group and these women talk and I mean have lots of women and then
Mm-hmm.
they say I only feel safe to talk about this in this group because we all experience it and I find that so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this the only place that you feel safe? Of course you should feel safe with your family or friends or wherever or open just telling your story about how you feel and how you're suffering and so the fact that it's not spoken about and I feel that it makes more women feel shameful about it when it happens.
It does.
Because you don't know and since I went through that I realized and I that every 16 minutes a woman goes for a miscarriage. Every 16 minutes, just think about it. And then for the time that I fought for that minute that happened to me that I was the only person. And so far I have spoken to thousands of women
Who've had similar
who've had it.
You said there was one woman who
There's 20 years and she's still in the group and she comes on, she logs on to the Zoom every other Tuesday just for us to let us know that there's hope and there's life after what 20 years. 20 years ago and she's still there. She's still
and you said there was one woman who she had seven.
7-second trimester losses.
Oh my god!
7
I cannot even
I can't imagine. No.
that.
No, I can't. I don't know how she's doing it, how she's going. 7-second trimester losses.
And these second trimester losses are after the 13th week.
Yes.
But before the 24th
Yes,
week.
before the 24th week. Yeah.
I think I was in the 20th week or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I was in my 22nd week. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the baby that it's alive. It's full grown. There's everything and she's seen every one of their faces.
Wow, she has?
Yes, she said she's seen everyone. She's hold all 7
Wow,
babies.
really? That is amazing.
That's strength that I can't have.
No, not me. I don't.
The strength I can't have. I mean, and I tell her, I said, you're an incredibly strong person. No matter what anybody tell you, no matter what you feel about yourself, let me just tell you.
But when you said that these women suffer in silence, right?
Yes.
We did.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Imagine the stigma
I know.
that's attached.
That's
It's this,
attached,
you feel, like I said, humiliated,
Yeah.
right? Because you failed.
You failed.
Your body failed.
Your
you.
body failed you.
This baby was almost to be born, right? Look at what society did. Look at what social media did when Chrissy shared those pictures. So it tells you.
It tells you why.
Yeah.
Why we keep
you
quiet.
keep it to yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you're looked on as a failure.
Yeah.
Like that pastor said, you're cursed. So painful.
So painful.
Yeah. So what would you say holds it together for you?
For me,
Because you're going forward.
I said to myself, life goes on. And I said to myself, I'll always be his mother. I'm his mother. I will always be his mother. He'll always be my son. No matter if he's not there for me to hold him. Our roles as parents is to, we birth a child, we bring them up, but eventually we have to let them go. And I let him go sooner than I would have liked.
Right.
But let him go, it's inevitable. It had to happen. It could have been at 18, could have been at 21.
Right.
But for me, it was 3 hours. And like I said, it doesn't matter the timeline. So, I'm his mother. I'm always his mother. He'll always be my son. And I hold on to that. And that lets me go on somehow.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
October is Miscarriages Awareness Month.
Yes.
Right? And I am glad we had this conversation. I'm really glad we had this conversation because you have allowed me to talk about an experience that I had that I never talked about before. And fortunately for you, you got to the place where you feel comfortable now to talk about it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because you remember there was one time you said,
No.
absolutely
I'm
not.
not talking about
This
it. I
is
don't want
forever.
to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah?
It's forever.
This pain is forever.
I'm always gonna feel this pain. It's never gonna go away. I've seen that. There are days that go by and I don't cry. Some days I do, but it's not as dark as it was in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
the weight is not as heavy on my shoulders anymore. I don't feel like I'm sinking in into the bed or sinking in into grief.
Mm-hmm.
I get up and somehow I just go on with my day.
You complete your day.
Yeah.
One day at a time,
One day
isn't
at a
it?
time. Yes, it is.
And that's right. And you give time.
Yes.
That's really what it is. You give time, and you somehow heal as you go along the way. You learn to, I think, find a place for the pain.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's an experience that stays with you a lifetime.
And I mean, it's and once you accept that, knowing that I'm not just gonna get up tomorrow and I'm gonna forget it, it's all gonna go away.
Mm-hmm.
Once you accept the reality of what it is, and it's you're gonna have it, and I'm gonna have it always, and so I'm just gonna embrace it and go along with it.
Yeah.
It's part of my life now, and it's part of my life story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting story.
Yeah.
It's I think too it shows us that trauma can come in many different ways. And that we have to reach out for help.
Yeah.
And to find ways to cope with the trauma. Even if it's just kind of talking to a friend about it.
Yeah.
Some people going to therapy is stigmatized. That's another stigmatized, situation. So if it means just talking to a friend, then talk to a friend.
Yep.
Right?
Talking about it helps. I'll tell you that, because keeping it to yourself, then we make up stories in our mind, of what it should be or what it should feel like. But sharing your experience with somebody else and then hearing their perspective on things, it helps it.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, I am so glad you came out.
Thank you.
I haven't seen you in a little bit. I know we've been talking by phone. So I'm happy to see you.
Yes.
I'm happy to see that you're smiling and feeling better.
Yes.
And that, this experience that we share in different ways, but fundamentally the same. I hope that it continues to strengthen us.
Of course.
And that we continue to
grow,
share the experience and to grow, with it, and so that other women don't have to feel ashamed.
Feel alone, ashamed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Chica.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right.
All right.